Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name is Ivana Harinkyu. If you are new here, and if you're not, thank you for coming back. Today is March the 30th. It is Wednesday, what is kind of becoming a trend of Weather Wednesdays for us here recently. Now, you might have heard so far, but if you have not, the entire state of Alabama is expected to see some type of weather event today. Parts of the state are expecting even severe weather. Today, I am joined by our AL.com weather reporter, Leigh Morgan. Leigh is here to talk a little bit about the forecast, what you can expect for your area, and just what the state could see as a whole. So, Leigh, thank you so much for kind of coming today to warn us a little bit about what could be in store. But tell us kind of what the state is looking at. I'll pull up some maps, and then we can talk about certain regions.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we're looking at a risk of severe weather for the entire state today. Parts of West Alabama have what's called a moderate risk. That's terms defined by the Storm Prediction Center. So moderate risk is level 4 out of 5 levels. So it's a big deal. And it covers areas very roughly west of I-65, not all the way. But what that means is widespread severe storms are likely in that area. Now, the rest of the state, it needs to be on guard for severe weather as well, because the rest of the state has an enhanced risk of severe weather. That's level 3 out of 5. And that means numerous severe storms will be possible. This is the map from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, they just updated it a few minutes ago, but it hasn't changed a whole lot from what you're looking at right here. So the areas in red have a moderate risk for severe weather, and the areas in orange have the enhanced risk. So that means if you're not in that moderate risk, that does not mean you're off the hook. You're still expecting severe weather. Will be a very definite possibility statewide. So
the red is something that, again, in these words, I know kind of get confusing because I get it mixed up all the time. Moderate is more serious than enhanced, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So moderate's level 4, enhanced is level 3. So the areas in the red have just a higher probability of seeing severe weather in those locations. And what we're expecting today is a squall line of storms to come through from the west, from Mississippi into Alabama later this afternoon. We're looking at probably 4 or 5 o'clock in West Alabama, those storms reaching the state line and then heading toward the east. They're going to be moving pretty fast. So it's really important this afternoon, wherever you are, to keep an eye on the forecast, because when these things come through, you're not going to have a lot of time to react. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at all, the kitchen sink of severe weather hazards. We're looking at the possibility of tornadoes. There could be a few strong ones, and they define strong ones as EF2s or stronger than that. And then we could have hail. We could have more flooding rain, something to look out for. But the real thing that the National Weather Service is really emphasizing is the threat for damaging winds. Now, sometimes we just blow that off and don't think that's a big deal. This time it could be. Forecasters have mentioned the possibility of widespread wind damage. So lots of trees down, power could be out. So anywhere here in Alabama, go ahead, charge your phones, get your batteries for your radio, do whatever you need to do. Keep in mind that your power may be out at some point tonight. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I don't want my power to go out either. But that is a distinct possibility with these storms, because they're going to have a lot of wind energy with them. So they're talking wind gusts, and some of these storms could be as high as 80 miles an hour. Now, that's hurricane force winds, okay, coming through your neighborhood possibly. And again, sorry. Go ahead. No, you go right ahead.
No, I was going to ask too, the threat with winds. I know you said that a lot of times we blow that off, right? We say, oh, it's just wind, it's fine. But winds can do real damage to pretty much everything. Now, something I want to ask you is, we've had these weather Wednesdays. I kind of joked earlier, but it's really not a joke. We've had these for the last several weeks. We know spring is just a tumultuous time in Alabama weather. But with this threat of severe winds today, is it possible that, say, trees, the soil is already wet from the storms we've had? Is it a more likely chance that with these severe winds, considering all the weather we've already had this spring, it could be actually easier to topple down trees, power lines, etc.?
Yes, that's a very good point. It hadn't rained in the last couple of days, but it rained a lot last week. I mean, we had a lot of flash flooding across Alabama. And that ground, it takes a while for that to dry back up. So
Hmm.
we're going to have winds. Not only are we going to have winds with the storms, I should emphasize that it's going to be windy today. There's wind advisories for the entire state. And then some areas in Northwest Alabama have what's called a high wind warning, which you don't see very often unless a hurricane or something is coming through. So, especially in Northwest Alabama, that's where they're expecting some of those higher winds that could gust. And this is away from storms. This is not even, storms are not even in the picture yet, but winds could gust as high as 60 miles an hour in some parts of the state today. So that
Hmm.
could go ahead. And those trees that are already kind of loose, from all the rain, the saturated ground, it's going to make it a little easier for them to come down. So
Mm.
y'all just need to be
Well,
aware of that. That's a thing all day today, even before the storms get here.
that's a good point. It's not like, you don't have to worry till the sun goes down. There is a chance of those winds coming in earlier, or maybe even expected to come in earlier, as you said.
Right.
Now, here's a wind gust map. This just kind of goes a little bit off of what you were explaining there about how even the northern parts of the state are going to see this wind. We expect that sometimes a little bit more south because we've got the water and we've
Right.
got the winds that are occurring year round there
Mhm.
anyway. But this, you can see kind of on the color coding here, it moves really north throughout the entire state, really, and especially that western part of the state.
Right. Northwest Alabama is really where they're expecting to see those higher wind gusts. But I was looking at some observations as of 10 o'clock, and it's already picking up down near Mobile and that area. They're already having gusts up to 35, nearly 40 miles an hour. So all that wind energy is just going to shift north as well. So yeah, this is from the National Weather Service, wind gusts across the state. So this could be anytime today through tonight. And when those storms come through tonight, there will be some tornadoes in the line of storms, but really, they're really going to be watching out for damaging winds in the storm. So tonight is a night when you see a severe thunderstorm warning issued, really take it seriously. Almost treat it like a tornado warning. Get into the center part of your house on the lowest floor, get away from windows, because these things are going to be really packing a punch. And it's better to be prepared and than to have a tree come through your house, right?
Hmm. Right. I'm thinking about that right now because the to one side of my house I've got a big wooded area. So I'm kind of thinking that same thing. And of course, that comes down, it's like right over my bedroom. So we think
Right.
about these nighttime storms, and that is the fear, right? That you are sleeping and then something like this could happen. And I'll let you kind of touch on that in a little bit, talk about the apps and the ways that people should be getting weather alerts. But in the meantime, I've got a few people asking about their region. So I'm going to pull up a map here. And this is actually from the State Emergency Management Agency. So it's
Right.
not from the Weather Service of the two maps we've been using. But I know, Leigh, and I'll let you explain this because you're the expert here, but this timing is pretty similar to what we've seen with the National Weather Service. So this is that same map I showed a minute ago with that moderate and that enhanced risk. You can see what part of the state you're in there. And this is just a ballpark timing. Now, I would not trust this. I would not use this as Bible to say these are the only times you're going to see severe weather. But this
Right.
is a good kind of gauge to see when your county might get hit the worst. Now, I've got a few questions. One about South Alabama, specifically Geneva County. So, right in that kind of eastern corner there,
Mhm.
near the Dothan region. So, that is in that enhanced risk there, the orange part. So I want to break it down a little bit, Leigh. And I think in your story that we're going to link here, you had forecasts kind of broken down in four parts. You had the north part of Alabama, central Alabama, and then we split the bottom in two, southeast and southwest. So
Right.
let's kind of start from the bottom and move up. So let's talk a little bit about southwest Alabama. So that Mobile region.
Right. Well, the Weather Service is thinking anywhere from 4 to 10 p.m. is when those storms are going to cross over that state line and come into Southwest Alabama. Now, if you're in Southeast Alabama, Geneva County, over the way toward Dothan, which is in Houston County, it's going to be later in the night. It's going to be more of an overnight thing for you. So you got to make sure you have a way to wake up if a warning is issued for your area. Because it always takes a little bit longer to get down there into Southeast Alabama. That part of the state, those 5 counties down there, are covered by the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, Florida. And then Southwest Alabama is covered by the National Weather Service in Mobile. So you expect Southwest Alabama, the Mobile area, they're going to have it first, earlier in the afternoon or the early evening. And then that's going to shift eastward through the nighttime hours and possibly into the overnight hours. So the time frame that the EMA has is 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. for that region of the country. Just like you said, a general time frame to keep an eye on. But so you're going to have a more, in that part of the state, it's going to be a more of an overnight thing for you. Sorry. That's no fun.
And then no, not at all. I've got Amber here again saying she's in Geneva County, not looking forward to it. And again, Amber, that overnight is always the worst part, right? Because you can't see the damage. If something happens in your yard, and obviously you don't want to go outside and look at it while the storm is happening. You have to wait until the sun comes out. So that's never a good spot to be. And then again, that Mobile area, that southwest area is the kind of earlier part that is getting hit with that maybe 4 to 10 kind of ballpark. So let's move up into central Alabama. So we're going again based on vertically central. So this, I know this map is horizontally based with time, but we're moving kind of vertically based just on region. So let's talk a little bit about central Alabama.
Okay. This central Alabama is covered by the Weather Service in Birmingham. It's a big chunk of the state. So we're looking at storms entering that west part of central Alabama around 4 to 5 p.m. possibly at the earliest, and then shifting eastward across the state. So they could be moving out of East Alabama, the east part of central Alabama, as late as 6 a.m. Thursday. So this could be an overnight thing for them too. Now, hopefully they'll be moving faster than that and they'll get out of the way before then, but it is a possibility you could still be looking at severe weather in the wee hours in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock, if you're in the eastern part of central Alabama. And the same thing goes for North Alabama. They're looking at northwest Alabama. You could see storms entering the state from Mississippi around that general time is about 5 p.m. and then translating east through the night. Now, you're probably going to see, if I had to guess, a tornado watch issued earlier than that this afternoon, because they're going to issue them, of course, before the storms get here. So I would look, 3, 4, depending on how this line evolves. Now, it's still back in Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. So it's got to cross over all of Mississippi to get here. So, it's hours away. Mm-hmm. But I would look later this afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock, and maybe 5. Tornado watches will likely go up for at least part of the state. And then that's when it's time to get serious and make sure you have your severe weather plan in place. And I wanted to add, I know I'm rambling, but if you're in a mobile home, especially anywhere in Alabama, especially in West Alabama, that tornado watch is issued. You guys have got to be vigilant about having a place to go. We have seen so many reports lately of mobile homes being shifted off foundations or even rolled by weak tornadoes. It doesn't have to be a strong tornado. It can even be a severe thunderstorm, and it's going to move that home if it's not, especially if it's not anchored down properly. So if you're in a mobile home, wherever you are, please take the time to find a place to go if one of these storms is headed your way, because it could save your life. And I know it's a pain, and I know it's a huge inconvenience, especially in the middle of the night, but it is so important. We keep seeing reports of people being hurt or even killed in mobile homes when these storms come through, and we just do not want to add to that today.
I completely second that, Leigh. I think it's fair to go ahead and tell our friends in their mobile homes, just pay attention and again, have a place to go. We know that storm shelters are likely to open later this afternoon and this evening. So check that, make sure that you have a plan and a place to go. Now let's talk quickly about North Alabama as well. There is a sliver kind of in North Alabama that is part of that moderate risk factor. Yeah. There's somebody who says they're watching from Waterloo. So that's up in that Lauderdale County. And that is exactly where this moderate risk is. So even if you mentioned that kind of southwest region, but even that northwest region, really that whole western part of the state, it's got to be on guard.
Yes. And, Lauderdale County, I think, is included in that high wind warning. So that's, winds are going to be gusting really high winds even before the storms get here. And then there is an increased probability of severe storms and tornadoes for that corner of the state. So I mean, y'all know they usually, when they come in from Mississippi, that's where they usually hit their peak intensity. And a lot of times they'll lose intensity as they head toward across the state. And that's not always the case, but they do think that it'll be during the overnight hours as they move eastward across Alabama. So there is a chance they could lose some of their punch. But in West Alabama, you're going to be under the gun, and you're going to be under the gun first. So yeah, in that corner of the state, Northwest Alabama, just be on guard, especially, 3, 4 o'clock, start paying attention, make sure, because this timing can shift. The weather doesn't always follow a schedule. So, and these things could move faster or even slower than what they're thinking. But just be ready, because it will be here, unfortunately.
Right. Like it or not. Right. Now, Leigh, I do want to let you, and I know that we do this every time that I have you here, but I think it's so important, especially on a day like today where this weather is expected to be severe. Tell us about why we should not depend on those outdoor weather sirens, and tell us what we need to have to be ready to get alerts.
Okay. Well, I mean, outdoor sirens are World War II technology, right? They're meant to be heard outside. That's not going to help you at night, or, inside when the weather is bad. So you can't rely on being able to hear those things. So, and then they can go out, things break, things happen. So what you need to have is a reliable, more than one source of information. So, a weather radio is the gold standard, right? It'll go off and it will scare the heck out of you when a warning is issued, but it will get your attention. That's something you can use. You can program it for your area to alert you when warnings go off. There's a plethora of weather apps on your phone, most of them free, that you can set your location and they will alert you when a warning is issued for your area. You've got internet, you've got social media, you've got your favorite television meteorologist, you've got radio. Just make sure that you have more than one way. You have a backup plan to get weather, especially if you're going to be dealing with it in the middle of the night. Another important thing is make sure you tell people. Everybody knows somebody that maybe has no idea what's about to happen, right? That doesn't pay attention. We all know somebody like that. So just shoot them a text or whatever and tell them, hey, keep an eye on the weather tonight, because, it's very important, and you could help, save their life in some cases. So, everybody wants to make a difference. Here's a way that you can do it, and it's easy. And just check up on everybody and make sure they're ready to go. But those things, just make sure you're up to date, that your phone's not on silent, that it's charged and ready to go. And, we'll be fine. We're going to get through this. We're pros at severe weather at this point, right? Every year we have episodes like this, and we've had several lately. So we're going to get through it. Don't panic. Fine. But the more you're there, the less you're going to be stressed about it, because you're ready.
And too, something that I hear every time we have one of these storms, which has been pretty weekly recently, it always reminds me. People say, like you, Leigh, other weather meteorologists that we watch, other weather reporters always say, look, when you are in your safe place, make sure you have shoes down there. Very simple things, so that if you do, if your home is hit, or if you have to go outside, or if you're walking over debris, you have shoes. Make sure that you have leashes for your animals or harnesses for your animals, so that, again, if your house gets hit, if you have to go outside, you have a way to contain your animals. Make sure that you have those necessities in the place where you are going to go. It might be an extra 5 minutes of your day to haul that stuff into your basement, but at the end of the day, would you rather spend that 5 minutes doing it, or would you rather regret not doing it? So I know just these little tips, Leigh, are things that we have to keep in the back of our mind.
Right. Exactly right. Like, I've got to go after this downstairs and make sure there are no spiders in my safe place, because I will freak out if I get down there and there's a spider, and, have the radio. We always have a radio down there, and make sure everybody in your family has a helmet. Helmets are a big deal. A lot of head injuries come if a tornado were to hit your house. If you don't have a basement, you want to be in the center part of your house on the lowest floor, away from windows. Okay. That's the standard. And those, as many walls as you can put between you and the storm, is going to be good. And again, take these severe thunderstorm warnings seriously tonight, because they're going to have some winds to them, and it doesn't, take much to differentiate a severe thunderstorm wind gust of 80 miles an hour, and a tornado. And the damage is going to be very similar, just oriented a little bit differently, right? So take them seriously tonight because, I mean, they could really pack a punch when they come through.
We're just hoping that everybody heeds their warning, stays safe tonight. And again, like Leigh said, we'll get through it. We will wake up tomorrow and hopefully we're going to be on the tail end of our spring storms here soon. So, Leigh, thank you so much. I know that you are keeping us updated on AL.com. Again, you can find all of Leigh's reporting on AL.com/weather. We will be keeping you updated on the conditions throughout the day and evening on all of our social media channels and on our website. So, Leigh, thank you again for all of your expertise here. I know it's going to be a long day for you and a long night for you. But again, hopefully everybody is safe and hopefully that this turns out to be something that we didn't even need to talk about.
I hope so. I mean, keep your fingers crossed and pray for the best.
Absolutely. Leigh, thank you so much. Again, everybody watching, thank you. Stay safe. Again, prep your spot, get an app or get a way to get a weather warning for this evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.